Alright, so let's talk about an eBay find that didn't turn out so great. Now this is an IBM RS6000 or RS6000 43P model 140 with a 604 332 megahertz processor, PowerPC 604E, type 7043 140. And as you can see, it looks like it's in pretty shitty shape. Now on the eBay listing, it didn't look like this. The drives were like flat, the floppy drive's cover was on, but when it got shipped here, it got beat up a bit. And this was all because a screw was missing in the case. Can you believe it? So you can see here, it doesn't look too great. I mean, it looks pretty beat up because there's like plastic. The front panel got smashed pretty hard, and let me remove the back panel. Let me put this down here quick to remove the panel. Okay, so. Removed it. So you can see it doesn't look too bad inside. I don't seem to see anything shorting out on the board itself, and it looks pretty okay. So at least this part seems to be fine. However, the front of the system didn't hold up so well, as you can see here. It's a bit bent, out of whack. I'm just trying to see here, make sure it's not touching anything on the back of the board. But as you can see, this is an LPX style case, so there's a vertical crossbar going across the board, and that is to hold a riser card in and the drives in. And if you look at the back of the system, there is the trademark flat ports. So this is definitely an LPX, or a variation of LPX, since there were lots of variations of LPX. But this is essentially an LPX case. And so, as you can see here, the case was not in too great shape, even before this thing got onto the truck. But as you can see here, like, look at this deteriorated ass foam. Lots of, like, you can see bits and pieces of the foam in here, and lots of plastic bits got on the board and case too, because when I opened this thing up and turned it upside down, plastic came out. Not good, but at least the front looks okay. At least the front looks okay. So as you can see here though, this is where it all happened, because the screw was loose, so it enabled the whole thing to just get bounced around. I'm going to see how much is damaged of it by powering it on, and I'm going to see if this thing actually goes up in smoke or not. So let's do this. Alright, so I plugged it all in, and I already powered it on, so I know what's going to happen, but look at this. It's all beat up. Push the on switch, and guess what it does? It comes right up, flashing on its 3-digit screen, or it looks like 4 digits, but it's only using 3 because it's a prep machine. But on this 3-digit screen, it's powering right up. See, drive still ejects. I don't know about the cartridge drive below it, but it's definitely working. And as you can see here, the familiar memory keyboard network SCSI screen is on this RS6000 as well, not just the newer ones, like say my broken Power 7 right here. RAM board's dead on it. It's a shame, but it's a low spec one either way. And for the price for replacing the RAM board and the motherboard, if that's bad, I could just get myself a higher spec rack mount model with more memory, more cores, and whatnot. But look at this RS6000 boot. It even has a chime. So, as you can see here, RS6000 firmware, not the best camera for recording this, but it's got 128 megabytes of RAM, and instead of the 332 megahertz 604E, it actually has a 233 megahertz. And considering how there was another Ethernet card, I mean, there was a serial card, not an Ethernet card. It looked like when it first, but it was a serial card with 8 ports. That thing was loose in the system, so I pulled that out. And considering how that thing wasn't even screwed in right, I wonder who the hell last owned this. But, on the contrary, it still works. It's got a 9 gig hard disk, and let's boot AIX. So this right here is prep firmware. It's not CHRP like on the newer PowerPC systems, or a variation of that either. It's PREP, which was the predecessor to it. Some of these models could run Windows NT4. However, only the first 43P could run NT4, the one that does not have 7043 in its type number. That one could run NT4, but this cannot run Windows NT4. And one day I'd love to get either an MCA RS6000 or one of the ones that could run Windows NT and Solaris and OS2 for PowerPC. That would be interesting to have. But then again, this isn't that bad for a $50 RS6000, and the other thing about Prep is that it cannot run anything past AIX 5.1. So unlike this broken, derelict Power 7 here, which can run the newest version of AIX, this cannot. And it can run OSs like NetBSD or Debian, but Debian's dropping Big Endian PowerPC support, which also means that it'll have issues running on this thing as well, too, in the future. But let's boot this thing up anyways. So let's push number 2, which gets us into the boot menu. And as you can see, it's a boot sequence. It's not a select boot device. It doesn't seem that way. Or well, it does, but I don't know. This is weird. It's not like the newer ones, at least. If you have to exit out of here to boot the device, you can't just pick a device to boot. And the other thing about this to note is that unlike the newer RS6000s, which are based on CHRP, if you exit out of here, you don't get dumped into open firmware. At least that's what I recall these doing. I haven't turned on my working IntelliStation Power 275 in some time, mainly because I've got other systems hooked up, and that thing is a giant beast, unlike this thing, which is just desktop sized. I mean, size the desktop, it's not that bad, really. I mean, it's much smaller than, say, one of these tanks, but it's booting. I also don't get why they put the logo oriented like this when the vent's over here, but that's why I'm probably never going to stand this up on the side, because that would probably cause heat problems. So it's booting AIX. And it's doing it on this PowerPC 604 processor, which was featured in the Mac line. Now, this wasn't the only RS6000 processor to also be featured in the Mac line. Some of the ThinkPads have 603s. 601 was in some of the older RS6000s with the MCA bus and some PCI bus ones too, but not as many. And the RS6000, later on when it was called IntelliStation Power, it featured a, one of them featured a G5. So anyways, let's go to root. The last owner was kind enough to install AIX 5. And so they already set it up for me. AIX version 5.1. Uname-A. And now I'm going to run, I think, PRTCONF, yep. As you can see, it's printing out all the info about this machine. IBM 7042. And I'm going to, it says Model Architecture RSPC, which means it's a prep system. And now I'm going to run the config utility for AIX. Oh, whatever. They want me to set the term type. I'm just going to turn this thing off now. Shut it. Yeah, you can't backspace with this terminal or an AIX, and this keyboard's not the best. Shut down dash H. But yeah, this is an interesting machine. I mean, I can't really do much with it now because I don't have a video card. I'm probably going to end up getting a video card for this thing later on and do some more fun things with this machine. Especially because this machine has video and sound hardware like my 275 does, but it's not room sized. Or, well, it's not big space heater sized. I mean, come on, these things are huge. They are deep, they are long, they are tall. I mean, but this on the other end, it's nice. It's a nice size. It's a nice size, and that's why I bought this thing. It was only $50. I mean, even beat to crap, it still works. And while this might make replacing hard drives and CD drives a bit harder later on down the line, I could always hook up a SCSI to SD adapter solution and bypass the hard drive if that thing ever clicks out on me, because this seems to use unobtainium old SCSI hard drives. So yeah, thanks for watching and subscribe for more. And it is shutting down the RS6000.